I started watching WWF right before the national expansion, but saw most of the cards, a lot of the cards as a child in 1984. So basically, my dad would drive me to Binghamton, New York, and he would attend a lot of them until I got a little bit older with me. He wasn't necessarily a fan, so I believe we were seeing a show in 1984 with Jimmy Snuka and the Tonga Kid, with Roddy Piper and Bob Orton Jr., and I think that was the match. However, at that era in Binghamton, there were no barriers. There were maybe loose ropes or something around the ring. So I don't even know if there were ropes actually at some point. So people could actually go right up to the ring, and it was sort of like the World Class Championship Wrestling tapes where you would see them go right up to the ring and ask for autographs or whatever. So it was a little chaotic, as you can imagine, when the wrestlers would come into the ring. And my dad, first of all, is not a big dude at all. He's very thin, and as far as I knew, had never been in a fight or was any type of tough guy. But he started getting really annoyed because every time the wrestlers would come in, people would get up and they would kind of make their way to the ring, and it would make it impossible to see what was going on. So this happened several times. And then I believe during the Snuka match, my dad actually grabbed the belt buckle of a guy in front of us who was trying to make his way past us and bum rush the ring. And my dad just held onto his pant loop buckle, if that makes any sense, like where the belt goes through. And the guy just sort of turned around and looked like he was going to do something, but my dad just like no-sold it, and the dude just stayed there. And anyway, I just couldn't believe that my dad was that much of a badass to like hold this dude back from going to the ring. So I gained a lot of respect for him that day, even though I didn't quite understand what was going on until a few years later.
I could tell you what was going on. Your dad thought he could stop one of 150 people rushing the ring. Why does he choose one? That's kind of like a weird police riot mentality, I feel. I mean, completely different, but kind of the same. They're all bum rushing the ring, and he's just like, we'll just pick out one, and I'll put my finger through their belt loop, and I'll stop them. If I could stop one, maybe that will influence everybody else to stop, but it didn't. I'm glad you gained some respect for your father. He wanted a semblance of control, which I can 100% respect. It's like you don't all rush from the back off of an airplane. You don't just drive on the shoulder to get into traffic. There has to be some semblance of control and respect for others. These teenage kids were not showing it, especially to your father. And I just liked the idea of this father and son going to wrestling. And that's a memory that you have in your memory bank. It shows a day that you have this respect for your dad. A good father-son going. Love it. Love it. Also, when I asked Donna to make the art for this podcast, I specifically said I want like the front row of a 70s or 80s wrestling show where there's just like a rope instead of guardrails. And what you explained is exactly what the art of this podcast is. I feel I nailed it. I feel Donna nailed it, and I feel you nailed it. We all can picture it in our mind, and we all display it to the world in different ways. Hey, thanks for watching. That call was part of a whole podcast called Wrestling Anonymous. Listen to the whole thing weekly. Wherever you listen to your podcast, go subscribe. And while you're at it, subscribe right here on YouTube to Colt Cabana's channel. Thank you.